Good morning. Welcome again to Morning Devotions, and thank you again for our time together. Please don't forget Revival Nights at South Campus as we teach on the restoration of awe to the human heart. We're going to have a great time. But right now, let's come back to the book of 2 Kings chapter 23. 2 Kings 23. Protestant Christians, please I don't say this critically, but just factually, Protestant Christians don't have a sense of the sacred that many Catholic Christians have. If you look at how a Catholic person treats the church, treats the house of God, there's a sense of the sacred. But for so many Protestants, they've got a great revelation that the church is the body of Christ, and that's beautiful. But they have lost a sense of sacred places where God is worshipped. And I know even saying that, Protestants are going to rip me to pieces, but at some point, Protestants need to come back to understanding a sense of the sacred. Because Satan has a tremendous sense of tearing up things that have been dedicated to God, things that are sacred. In the book of 2 Kings, chapter 23, verse 4, the king ordered Hilkiah, the high priest, the priest next in rank and the doorkeepers, to remove, notice these things were there, to remove from the temple of the Lord all the articles made for Baal and the Ashereth and all the starry hosts. He burned them outside Jerusalem in the fields of the Kidron Valley and took the ashes to Bethel. He did away with the pagan priests appointed by the kings of Judah to burn incense on the high places of the towns of Judah and all those around Jerusalem, those who burned incense to Baal, to the sun, the moon, to the constellations, and to all the starry hosts. He took down the Ashereth pole, this giant male sexual organ, from the temple of the Lord. They put one of these things in God's house and burned it in the Kidron Valley. He ground it to powder and scattered the dust over the graves of the common people. He tore down the quarters of the male shrine prostitutes who were at the temple of the Lord and where women did weaving for Ashereth. Now, notice, you have male shrine prostitutes. Now, depending on the commentary you read, you'll find that these were either heterosexual, homosexual, or both. There were people who were paid prostitutes that did their prostitution in the temple of God, in a temple that had been dedicated to the worship of God. One of the things that we must realize as Protestant Christians is that God's house, places that have been built, set aside for the worship of God, are sacred. And Satan will do everything he can to desecrate anything dedicated to God. Part of Satan's famous I wills is I will sit on the throne of God. He insists on placing his throne. He insists on his worship taking place in God's temple. Think about the Antichrist establishing himself as a god during the Great Tribulation. Think about what happened after the destruction of Herod's temple in Jerusalem in 70 AD. About 100 years, or about 30 years later, in around 110 to 135 AD, the entire temple is destroyed, and they build a temple to the god Jupiter right on the sacred place. Satan always wants to take away that which belongs to God and has been committed as sacred. Now I want to challenge you today. When there are things that are set apart as sacred, don't let things defile that which is set apart for God.